Okay. Okay, so hi. So first of all, welcome. I was actually last night, I don't know if some of you know, or some of you don't know, there was a city council meeting that they were voting on a proposal, a resolution to demand a ceasefire in Gaza and the city council. And unfortunately, so I tuned in towards the end of it, and there were many, people from the community are allowed to come and, speak for like literally a minute. And unfortunately, there were a lot of people who were for this, like pro-Palestinian, and a lot of those people were actually Jewish people who were saying, I'm Jewish and I, think the Israelis are doing a terrible thing and da, 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 da. So do you feel that those people are Jewish? Are they
Oh, I
Jewish
have a
like
question.
you?
Is this a Santa Monica City Council?
Santa
Santa
Monica
Monica?
City Council, they actually voted it in, all
Wow.
except for one council member.
Who was
Um,
that? Which
the
one?
one who voted against it is Christina Para. Christine Para.
Wow.
Yeah,
Christina. Wow, good
yeah,
for her.
Christine, I think it's. Yeah. Huh? She's not Jewish. No, so the people who are, so all these, like, let's say, very, these Jews who are, I would call them self-hating Jews in a way, because they're, they're,
No,
um,
I just think they're just uneducated. I wouldn't call
un-
them. I think they're just ignorant. I'll be honest with you. They
okay.
just don't know. I mean, what you think is malice can easily be described as just stupidity. I hate to say it that way,
Right. I
but
agree. No, I agree with
yeah.
you, definitely. But
So
they're coming
so
from this point, they're believing all these lies, they're believing all
no,
this.
right, but that's stupidity, not malice. That's not
No, not
self-hating is
malice, not
malice.
malice, but they're
It
still,
just
let's say, not sticking up for their Jewish brethren.
right.
That
That's just
part.
stupid.
Right.
Right.
So,
They're
but
just dumb. Right.
so if you see a Jew that's like really bad or really doing things
Right.
that you think are not good, I'll say Bernie Madoff. I don't know.
Well,
Um,
don't say that. I mean, they are okay, but there's
right,
ignorant. I
everyone
mean,
in their way, everyone in their way. I
yeah.
mean,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
but that's they're
We
still
don't know.
Jews. Okay. What
We
do
don't know
all
why
Jews
they're
have in
bad.
common? Of course, they're all
Yeah,
Jews,
they're all
right? You know
Jews.
that.
Yeah,
You know
of
I'm gonna
course.
answer that. Everyone's Jew,
Yes. Yes. Right.
But what is it that all Jews have in common? What makes us Jewish? Like, if you're an atheist like Bernie Sanders, are you a Jew? Is Judaism a religion? Is it ethnicity? Is it
Well,
nationality?
well, George
Uh,
Soros. George Soros is Jewish. What about him? Let's go for
yeah,
the
George
gusto.
Soros. Yeah, that's right. That's another one.
Let's go
Whatever.
for
Anyway,
him.
oh, yeah, that's report. Okay. So is being a cultural Jew a Jew? Or are they just Jewish? Um, is Moshe more Jewish than Chuck Schumer, let's say?
Well, aren't you just Jewish by birth? That's
Are
all
you
the
just Jewish by
definition is.
birth?
It's just
Exactly.
by
So
birth.
what is it?
It's
What
just
is
by
it that makes
birth.
us Jewish? What is it about us? Are
It's
there
by
different
birth.
levels? Are we different? So we're going to learn today about the differences, or actually the oneness of all Jews, the unity of all Jews. This week's Parsha, we discuss the Shalosh Regalim, the three main holidays that the Jews used to go up to the Beis Hamikdash, to the Holy Temple, to celebrate. And that's what we talk about in this week's Parsha. One of those are um, one of those holidays are Sukkot, right? Sukkot. On Sukkot, we have a very special mitzvah where we take four types of vegetation, right? The lulav and the esrog, the four kinds, the four species, and we put them together and say a blessing. What is this all about? So let us read text number 1, page 21. Okay. Seema, can you read? I didn't ask you the other time.
No, thank you.
No? Okay. She's out of town. Okay, I'll read the first one. And you shall take for yourself on the first day a beautiful fruit of a tree, date palm fronds, a branch of dense-leaved tree, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before God for 7 days. So it's very interesting. It doesn't say straight out what type of species it is. It doesn't say take a esrog, a citron. It says take a beautiful fruit of a tree. So how do we know what it is? How do we know which fruit they're talking about? How do we know which species of each of these things? They say, they hint, the palm frond sounds pretty close, and then the willow, but other than that, they don't really talk about it. So what's going on over here? What does this all mean? How do we know what exactly we have to bring and what it's supposed to look like or be like? And that is in the Talmud, the rabbis discuss it and they figure it out. It's because in the oral Torah that was passed down what it is, and that's where we get the idea of exactly what we need to do the lulav and esrog blessing. Okay, so why not? Also, why doesn't it just say it straight out? Take a citron, take a myrtle leaf, take this, take that. Why does it have these little kind of like hints? And that is there to teach us a lesson. So for example, it says, take a beautiful fruit tree, a fruit of a tree, but doesn't say just take an esrog. Why doesn't it just say take an esrog? So let us read text number 2. Want to read it, Sylvia? I mean, Batya.
Yeah. There is no maximum limit to the size of an etrog. It is valid even if it is so big that it must be carried on one shoulder. There is, however, a minimum limit. An etrog, is it etrog?
Etrog.
That's what I thought. Okay. An etrog smaller than the size of an egg is invalid because most etrogim grow to no less the size of an egg. Hence the fact that an etrog had not grown to that size shows that it is not fully grown. And the Torah's expression, fruit of a tree, implies a fruit that is complete.
Okay, so we learn out that the fruit of the tree teaches us that we can't take an immature fruit. It has to be a grown, has the fruit has to be like fully grown. And so even though it doesn't say etrog, we know that's not just an etrog, but not just any etrog. You can't just take pull it off a tree. It has to be already a grown fruit. Okay. Now again, it doesn't say take a lulav, take a it doesn't say it straight out. It says take from the date fronds, so the palm fronds. Okay. So what does that mean? Text number 3. Any other readers? Okay, I guess I have to read it. Okay. The term date palm fronds connotes a lulav that grows on a date palm. Since the Torah used the term kapot tamarim instead of leaves of a date palm, alei tamarim, we learned that the leaves must be such that they can be brought together and bound together with the spine because they are still pliable. This concept is derived because the vowels are not written in the Torah, and the term kapot could be read as kafut, which means bound. So basically, when you see if you look at the top of a of a palm tree, and there's those like sticks sticking out before the leaf like opens up, that's a lulav. It has to be in a very specific time of its growth. Once it starts to open up, it's not good anymore. And it has to be like stuck together, bound together. So kapot, which means among, could also mean kafut, which means bound. That's how we know that. It can happen that the lulav remains on the date palm until its leaves become as stiff as wood, and they spread out and become separated from the spine. As the stiffer they become, the more spread away from the spine. In such a case, we determine if the leaves have become so firm that they can no longer be bound together with the spine. If this is indeed the case, the lulav is invalid. So it's teaching us the way it tells in the Torah of the way it describes it, teaches us exactly at what point the lulav is considered kosher to use for the lulav blessing. Perfect. Exactly. Perfect. Exactly. Okay. Right, but besides for that, it has to be, it doesn't say extra, it just says, beautiful fruit. So the way they describe it, they come to figure out the laws of it, and that's the way we know it's etrog and maturity of it. The lulav, we now know it has to be, can't be like too old that it gets hard and the things get hard and start to open up and become a leaf. It has to be, a certain point in growth. Okay, let's go on to the myrtle, the hadas. Text number 4.
Das is not considered dense leaf. A unless at least 3 leaves emerge from a single point. For example, 3 or more leaves are positioned next to each other in a circle around the stem, none of them being lower than the other, even though they do not emerge from a single root. If they are very close to each other and stand on an equal plane in one circle, they are considered as dense leaved. If, however, 2 leaves stand up on an equal plane, very close to each other, and the third leaf emerges on a higher level than the other 2, or emerges on a lower level than the other 2, and ascends and lies on them, that is not considered dense leaved. Rather, such a species is called a crazed myrtle. It is invalid throughout the 7 days of the festival, even in a pressing situation with no other myrtle twig can be found. It should not be used, even without reciting a blessing, for it does not belong to the same species as a valid myrtle.
It is very interesting. So even in a situation where, you know, where things might be difficult, you still cannot use the other type of myrtle leaves. You can only use the myrtle leaves, the hadassim, that grow in a very specific way. The 3 leaves, right, coming out as a bunch together. Should be like dense looking. So it's very interesting that each of these are very specific, and that's why the Torah describes them in a very interesting way. So we get the understanding that they're very precise, and they have to fit the description in the Torah. And now we're going to talk about the willow, the arava, and that is different. Here it says, it says the willow of the brook. So basically, the willow, you know, a lot of times willows grow near a stream, near a brook, near water, and so it seems like we can only use the willows that grow near a brook. But guess what? When I was a kid growing up, my parents had a big, we call it the arava bush in our yard. It grew really, really, really big and really, really, really wide. And people from the community would all come to get their aravas, their willows, for their lulav. And they used to use it. But we didn't have a stream in our yard. We didn't have a brook in our yard. So how is that all possible? Let us read 5a. An arava whose top was severed or its leaves were torn, or if it is safa, a species similar to, but not actually a willow, is invalid. An arava that is slightly dried, or if a minority of its leaves fell off, or if it grew in a field, is valid. So hey, something's different about the arava. Even if it doesn't grow by the brook, it's saying if it grew in the field, let's read 5b, in a field, meaning an arava that grows in a field and not by a brook. It seems like then that's okay, even though the Torah says that it grew by a brook. Very interesting. So let's read text number 6.
The willow of the brook that the Torah speaks of refers to a specific species that is known by that name. It is elongated. It has an elongated leaf similar to a brook. The edges of its leaves are smooth, and it has a red stem. This species mostly grows by a brook, which is why it's called willows of the brook. However, even if it grew in the desert or in the mountains, it's still valid. So
all aravas, all willows are good, or most of them. So that is really interesting. Ooh. So that is very interesting. Why is it that the willows are okay, but the hadassim, the myrtle, is very specific. The etrog is very specific. The date palm fronds are very specific. What is going on over here? There's no equity.
I have a commentary. We know that each of them is like smell, no taste. Like
that's what we're getting to next, Yvette. That's
okay,
what we're getting to next.
What's the willow? No taste, no smell. What is the willow?
Correct.
Oh, so it's a nothing. It's a nothing burger.
Well, let's find out. Yeah.
Well, it's not. Well, no, it's not. I didn't mean to say it that way. I apologize.
Okay.
I mean
text number 7.
It means something, right?
Yes, it means something. That's what we're going to get to right now. The verse states, willows of the brook. From where do we derive that even willows from a field or from a mountain are valid? From the verse's usage of the word plural, willows of the brook. We derive that willows are valid in any place. Because it says willows of the brook, it means all kind of willows, not just the willows that are by the brook or the stream, but even other willows, if they grow in the field or somewhere else, they're all okay to use for the lulav and the esrog. Okay, so let's resolve the inconsistency. There's no equity over here. There's no equality. How could it be that the willow, we can use all the kinds, but the other species, we are very discriminatory of what they're like and only let
Can I make a
certain pass
comment?
through?
I'm not a biologist, but I imagine if you have no smell, no taste, it doesn't take much to do that. But if you have smell and taste, you need some caring and some extra love and care to make that happen. So that's my
Okay.
biology take.
No, but why are we so specific, particular about the other ones to what we're choosing and this one not? Okay.
Oh, because they have all the extra stuff. They got the taste and the smell. We got the extra stuff going.
So we have to make sure that they're done exactly right, is what you're saying.
We have to make sure that happens in that fruit.
Oh,
Or, I
okay.
mean, in that way to make sure it
Okay.
actually
Okay.
germinates.
Okay. Good. Okay. So when we learn Torah, right, there are 4 different ways of interpreting the Torah. Okay. Sometimes we use one, sometimes we use, all and et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to first read all the different types of interpretations of the Torah. Okay, so you take any, I don't know, any, but many verses in the Torah, and okay, you say, what does this mean? There's 4 different levels of interpretation. So let's read text number 8. I should go.
Oh.
It's a long one. Our sages tell us that the Torah can be interpreted into 4 different general ways: Pshat, Ramaz, Drush, and Sod. Pshat is a simple interpretation of the Torah. When the verse says that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth, it means exactly what it seems to mean in a very literal sense. Okay, so that is the simple, plain answer. Okay, I'll explain it after. Okay, 2, Remez is the different hints and allusions which are contained within the Torah. One of the methodologies of the Torah employs to make these hints in gematria, the numerical value of the letters. Hebrew alphabet, for example, the gematria is Bereshit bara, in the beginning Hashem created, is the same as Barosh Hashanah Nivra Ha'olam. Hey, Sylvia. Good, great. Come. On Rosh Hashanah, the world was created. Talmud Rosh Hashanah. Bereshit Rabba Bara and Barosh Hashanah Nivra are both 116. Okay, 1,116. Okay, so 3 is drush, or medrash, expounds upon the deeper meaning of the verse. The Hebrew word for that in the beginning is bereshit. The midrash tells us that this word can be split into 2 words, bereshit. The Torah is telling us the world was created for 2 days, reshits, first. The Jews and the Torah. I'll explain all this soon, guys. Although this is not the simple interpretation of the word, nevertheless, it is a true and valid way of understanding the Torah. 4, Sod, secret, is the esoteric mystical part of the Torah. The Tekune Zohar, a book which gives 70 different esoteric explanations for the word Bereshit, explains that the word Bereshit can also be split into Barashis, created with 6. This is because the world was created through God's 6 emotional powers: kindness, severity, beauty, victory, splendor, and foundation. Now let me explain this all in simple English. Okay. Pshat, so the simple meaning, the basic meaning, the literal meaning of something, like there's a word in the Torah, and let's say you're not sure what it means, or what's the basic meaning that's there. Sometimes Rashi will say, oh, you don't know what this word means? This is what the word means. Okay, that's pshat. That's basic, like literal meaning. Okay, not always literal, super literal, but more or less. Then there is the rest 3, remez, which means like kind of hint, drash, which means like explanation, and sod, which means secret. Those are sometimes are more deeper explanations. Sometimes we cannot understand the basic meaning of a verse in the Torah without going into these deeper explanations. Okay, so sometimes Rashi usually tries to get the most simplest explanation, the most basic meaning of the Chumash, but sometimes he has to go deeper to really understand even the basics. Okay, so for example, text number 9. This is Rashi says this. Andrea, you want to read it?
This verse demands a midrashic explanation.
Okay, so the midrash, okay, this is one of the types of deeper explanations of the Torah, explains the 4 kinds, the 4 species, which will help us understand the discrepancy of why we do the will while we are less discriminatory against the willow than we are with all the other species. Okay, so here we go. Who wants to read it? Want to do it, Sylvia?
Sure.
Make you work hard.
A beautiful fruit of a tree. This refers to Israel, just like a citron or etrog, etrog, which has taste and has smell. So too Israel has among them people who possess Torah and possess good deeds.
Okay, so a tzaddik, a person who has good deeds and learns Torah, is like the etrog, because that's good taste, good smell. Continue.
Date palm fronds. This refers to Israel, just like a date which has taste and has no smell. So too Israel has among them those who possess Torah, but do not possess good deeds.
Okay, so the lulav, the date palm frond, has a good taste, right? The dates taste good. So it's like someone who learns Torah. Okay, continue.
A branch of a dense-leaved tree. This refers to Israel, just like a myrtle, which has smell and has no taste. So too Israel has among them those who possess good deeds, but do not possess Torah.
Okay, so people are like Hadassah and Myrtle. They're people who have good deeds, but they don't particularly learn Torah. Okay, and the last one.
Willows of the brook. This refers to Israel, just like a willow, which has no smell and has no taste. So too Israel has among them people who possess no Torah and possess no good deeds.
Okay, so the arava, the willow, has nothing, and it's like people who don't have good deeds and they don't even learn Torah. Okay, a Jew without anything. So with this explanation, we're going to go back to the willow, which we said it's very indiscriminatory. We'll take any willow we can get, or almost any willow we can get. When we say a Jew who has good deeds, it actually means he has good deeds. Not that he can have good deeds, not he has the ability to good deeds, not he might do something good, but he actually does things good. When we say the Jew who learns Torah, we're not saying someone who can learn Torah, who has the ability to learn Torah, but we actually mean someone who actually learned Torah. Okay, so so the same thing. A lulav can't not just a branch that could possibly be bound together, but one that actually is bound together, and that's why we have to get a very specific part. You know, whether we pick out the lulav, it has to be a very specific part of it in its growth process. So just like a thief, do you say someone who can steal or who has the ability to steal, that's a thief? Or do you say someone who steals or who stole, that's a thief, right? They did the action or they're doing the action. Not that they just have the ability or they're possibly to do it. Yeah. So the same thing. So again, the citron, the esrog, it's not a fruit that has the ability to be beautiful, but it actually is a beautiful fruit. Okay, so it actually is doing its description. It's not just the potential. So we're very discriminate when we are what the Torah says about what type of species, how the species has to be chosen. But when it comes to the willow, the arava, that's different, because the arava represents the Jew who does not have Torah, does not learn Torah, and he does not have any good deeds. Okay, he's like disassociated. So every Jew can learn Torah, can do something good, right? But the arava does not. His actions does not translate to that. So this is the Gino. Gino is Jew in name only. J-I-N-O. Gino. Okay, joke. Was a joke. Okay. And that's just like the wino, the willow in name only. Okay, so they are so any willow is good enough. Okay, so if the willow presents the Jew who's just a Jew and who doesn't have the good deeds, doesn't learn the Torah, why is it so important? Why does it have to be with the four species? Why do we have to make the bracha with him there? Why can't we just say, oh, we don't have the willow, skip him out, what's he worth anyway? Not worth anything, right? But no, we need him there. We need the willow in the group of the four species, with the lulav, with the etrog, with the myrtle, with the, we need the willow too, because without it, it wouldn't be complete. We need 100%. So even though the willow has no good qualities, so to say, what does it add? Does it contribute? So what does a Jew who has no connection to Judaism, what does he contribute, or what does he add to the Jewish people?
What?
Let's go on. Okay.
Yeah.
So even
All right,
the
can I try to
Arava
answer
Jew.
that? I'm gonna answer that. It's
Go
a
ahead,
bad
you gotta answer
answer.
that.
It makes it heavier. It makes it like a weight. To me, it's like more people. I mean, you're there, even though you're not doing
Okay, quantity,
anything.
it fills up the room. Like
Right. It's
rent
a
a crowd.
quantity
Okay,
thing. Right. It's a quantity.
okay,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
So even the Arava Jew, even the willow Jew is important, okay? So there really is no such thing as a Jew in name only. There really is no such thing as a geno. If you're Jewish, and there's something important about you, and you do have some qualities. Okay, so text number 11, and we have Shirley back on. Thank you,
Yay,
Shirley.
I'm here.
Here to say
All
the
right.
day. Okay.
Yay. We unite with the Aravot, the Jews who possess neither Torah nor good deeds, just because they are Jews. Simply being a Jew is an essential intrinsic quality that every Jew possesses by virtue of being a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is true even if in practice they possess neither Torah nor good deeds. In fact, even if they are completely assimilated and don't even know that they are Jewish.
Okay.
Is there
So
more to
just
this? It seems like there should be more.
no, right, not yet.
Okay.
Okay. So just being Jewish, just having a part of God within you, that alone makes you worthy. They're just as important as the estrog Jew. Remember what the estrog Jew is? Good smell, good taste, right? Learns Torah and does mitzvahs. But aren't Torah and mitzvahs important? Isn't that important? Isn't that an important part of being a Jew? Learning, educating yourself, doing good deeds, being a good person, right? So yes, it is important, but guess what? That's not our business. That's Hashem's business. That's between that person and God. Not for us to judge if this person is really a willow or not. Right? We don't know what's within them. So let us read text number 12. Is very interesting because this is about there was a great rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Ozer Grodensky. He was a great Torah scholar in Poland, I want to say. And and he usually, when he gave law, when he gave advice, it was very according to Torah, very like straightforward. It wasn't like feel goody, how people like it particularly. But let's read what the story, text number 12. You want to read it, Sophie? Yeah. Okay.
In Poland in the early 20th century, few Jewish students were allowed to attend medical school. The only catch was that they had to supply their own Jewish cadavers to study on. After all, it would not befit a Polish cadaver to help a Jewish student. Familiar with the problem in Jewish law of dissecting Jewish bodies, the students approached the foremost halachic authority of the time, Rabbi Chaim Ozer Grodzenski. They proposed that in order to gain entrance to medical school, they may be allowed to use the bodies of deceased Jews of ill repute or criminals. The rabbi, after recovering from the shock of the suggestion, responded, "For me to allow that, I would have to know what Hashem thinks about those people."
Meaning, how could we say who's a criminal, who's ill repute, right? Only Hashem. We don't know what Hashem's thinking. So even though, right, but even this great rabbi, never means a dead body. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. So this great halachic authority, he says, hey, we can't judge a Jew. It's not up to us, it's only up to Hashem. So only Hashem really knows what's in a man's heart. We need to assume that every single Jew is pure and holy. Let us read text number 13. Let's see what it says here. An Arab Jew is important simply because they are Jewish. Okay. Every Jew is equal. Okay, text number 13. Wants to read it. Sylvia, you want to do it? Or
we must love and cherish the simplest Jew as much as the greatest scholar, just because he or she is a Jew, and we all have our one Father. It's okay. You are all children of your God. I loved you, says God.
So a parent loves their child no matter what, right? Parent, hopefully, in most cases, has an unconditional love for their child. Maybe they don't know how to show that all the time or it comes out in interesting ways, but in general, a parent has unconditional love for their child. And maybe if their child is doing something right, they might be pained, but doesn't mean that they don't love them. Hashem is our loving Father. He loves each and every Jew unconditionally, as he is our parent. And no matter what we do, even if we aren't doing what we're supposed to be doing, he still loves us. He's still going to take care of us. So it doesn't make a difference if you're Rabbi Akiva, if you're Barbara Streisand, or if you're Joe from New Hampshire. That's what it says in here. I just had to say that. Okay. And the previous Rebbe, let's see what the previous Rebbe says. Text number 14, back to Shelley.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't do the English. I make you read it in Hebrew. Just kidding.
Oh, boy. Okay, something's weird with my screen. Let me just, okay. Our teacher, the Baal Shem Tov, spoke very much about 3 loves, that of a fellow Jew, of the Torah, and of God, thereby exposing the essence of what a Jew is. The legal portion of Torah may declare a certain Jew as unfit. For example, gamblers are unfit to give testimony, and there are certain Jews after whose blessings we don't answer Amen. However, according to the soul of Torah, every Jew is inherently good. All Jews are responsible for one another. No one has the liberty to say, I'm a scholar, I'm a pious man who puts on 3 pairs of tefillin. Why should I bother with someone else? Just as 2 partners would tell one another, look, we're in this together. Whatever's your business is my business, and there's no such thing as fighting against each other. So it must be with every Jew.
Okay, so I want to end with a story, and we'll just discuss a little bit more about the current events we were discussing at the beginning of the class. So there was a Rabbi Monya Monishan, and he was a Chabad Chassid, and he was a diamond merchant, and he was a Chassid of the 5th Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Dovber, and he used to, and the Rebbe used to say about Rabbi Monya that he is a special person. He has special qualities. And what? Sorry, not about him. He just used to say, oh, there are certain Jews that you may not see their special quality, but they're very special. Like on the outside, they might seem like simple people, but really they're very pure, holy inside. And this Rabbi Monya said, I don't see that. How could, what's that all about? And conversation moved on. Later in the conversation, Rabbi Shalom Dovber was asking Monya about his diamonds. They said, oh, let me show you the diamonds that I have on me. And he took out the diamonds and he's showing it to him. He says, oh, this diamond, this one's really worth a lot of money. Don't you see its beauty? Don't you see, And the Rebbe says, I don't see it. It looks like all the other diamonds. And Rabbi Monya said, oh, Rebbe, you have to be an expert diamond dealer to be able to read the diamonds. And the Rebbe said, yes, when it comes to seeing Jews, you have to be an expert soul reader. And so that's why we ourselves, we don't judge. Every Jew is important. Every Jew has good qualities. They might seem like a willow to us. And yes, they have to be on the, and even if, as Yvette says, even if they're just there to add to the quantity and to bulk us up, that too is good. And every single Jew are all one unit. As someone just told me, who just said that today? Someone just said it, maybe it was where I saw it.
I said zombie.
Someone said if a non-Jew, if a non-Jew comes to the door of another non-Jew, they open the door and they say, oh, who's a stranger here? If a Jew comes to the door of a Jew, you open the door and said, oh, brother, right? Oh, sister. So,
Right.
Jews, we all feel that. We all feel connected. And
So the African Americans do that too. They call them brothers and sisters. The African Americans,
great bro.
they do the same thing. Hey, bro.
Okay,
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, we definitely feel a connection.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Connection.